so excited to be with you today. Now, I want you to know that it's a new year. How many of you stayed up on New Year's Eve all the way until midnight? No. You guys would never stay up past your bedtime. I know that. But with a new year comes all new stuff in Paradise Kids on Sundays. I'm excited to introduce to you a couple of new characters and a couple of new things that we're going to be talking about as we start our new year in 2021. And so, today, I want you to go ahead and follow us on YouTube. I want you to have mom, dad, whoever, subscribe to us on Facebook, YouTube, all the places. And I want you to check us out as we go into this new year, because you're not going to want to miss any Sunday that we are doing the thing. Now, today, I have a character that I would like to introduce you to. How about that? And it's this word. It's one word. I think it's an important word. You see, the word is something that many of you have probably heard before. It's something that maybe even today, or yesterday, or this past week, somebody said something about it to you. It starts with a C, and it has to do with decisions that you make. Anybody guessed it yet? The word's choices. You see, all of us make choices every single day. We all have choices we have to make. All of us can choose whether we're going to obey or not going to obey. We can choose whether we're going to make a good decision or bad decision. And our choices oftentimes, well, they're our own. However, there's another word that starts with a C. And that word's consequences. And for many of you, you might be familiar with somebody telling you that there's a consequence to what you choose. Now, I want you to know that that's not just in your life, that's not just in my life. That is actually in the Bible. Did you know that? And what's in the Bible also is the fact that over and over and over again, the people in the Bible would interact with God. And God would always give them choices. He would always give them choices. And he would allow them to choose whatever they wanted. However, he wouldn't take the consequences away. He might love them. He might want what's best for them. Because God wants what's best for you. By the way, did you know that? How cool is that? God wants what's best for you. But even though he wanted what was best, he wouldn't take away consequences. And so today we're going to hear a story about a time when God allowed for two people to make some choices. And then there were some consequences. So I want to introduce you to these characters. And I'm just going to tell the story today. I don't have any characters or figures with me. I figure that you guys can probably listen and follow along, right? So I want you to imagine this. A garden. Maybe some of you have gardens at your house, maybe at your grandparents' house, or maybe at somebody else that you know. They have a beautiful garden. And there's every plant you could imagine there. There are tomatoes, there are cucumbers, there are beautiful flowers, maybe even sunflowers. There are huge trees. There's every type of fruit, every type of berry, every type of thing that you can imagine is in this garden. And God planted it. God made it grow. Well, that's where these two people were living. This garden's name was the Garden of Eden. And it was perfect. And God had made it, and he'd planted it, and he'd allowed it to grow. And it was amazing. However, there were some rules. And you guys have rules, right? Like, no throwing snowballs in the house. I know that sounds like a silly rule, because, what would be more fun than throwing snowballs in the house? I get it. But there are still rules. God had a couple of rules of his own, and the big one that they had to make sure that they followed. They had to make sure that they followed it. Well, that rule was that they couldn't eat of this one specific tree. They weren't allowed. They could eat any other fruit, any other vegetable that was in this massive, huge, crazy, amazing garden. And they had everything that they needed. But there one tree they were not allowed to eat from. And it was this tree called the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And so the story goes that there was a serpent. The serpent talked. Just go with it. And the serpent went to the woman, and her name was Eve, and said, "Did God really say that you can't eat of that tree? Did he really tell you that that was actually out of bounds? Or did you just imagine it? Did you just kind of think that that's what God told you? I mean, God wouldn't be holding out on you, would he?" And Eve thought about it. And she thought about it some more. And Eve had an idea. Well, maybe God was holding out on us. Maybe he knew something that we didn't. And maybe that fruit on that tree, well, maybe it's not actually all that bad. And she took some of the fruit and she ate it. And not only did she take the forbidden fruit and eat it herself, she gave some to her husband, whose name was Adam. And Adam ate the fruit too. And there were consequences. You see, pretty much immediately, God came and spoke with them, and he found out what they had done. And God told them they couldn't live in that amazing garden anymore. And he sent them away. Now that sounds like a really sad story, but the truth is that we all have choices and we all have consequences that we deal with every single day. Now, maybe it's not as extreme as if you eat this piece of fruit, you can't live here anymore. I mean, that'd be really crazy, right? Can you imagine, like, if you ate, like, I don't know, a hot dog, or if you ate, a piece of candy, and all of a sudden you were told you couldn't live there anymore? That'd be pretty crazy, right? But we do have other consequences, like if you don't leave your brother or sister alone, well, then there's consequences. If you don't share, there's consequences. If you don't go to school, or if you don't go to school online, there's consequences. We deal with consequences every single day. And we have to make choices, well, that are wise. We have to make wise choices. We have to make choices, honestly, that honor God. And when we make choices that honor God, what we begin to do is we show that we love him. We show we love him. We show that we love God by making the wise choice. And so this month, we're going to talk about wise choices. We're going to talk about all sorts of different choices that people had to make in the Bible. So today, if you wanted to read that story, you can have whoever is helping you watch this video turn with you to Genesis, which is the first book in the Bible. You can go to Genesis and you can read that story that I just told in Genesis chapter 3. Okay? Go to Genesis chapter 3 and you can read that whole story there. Now, I'm so glad I got to spend some time with you today. I want you to be able to come and hang out with me every week. And sometimes that might be in person, right? Whenever the choice is the correct one, right? When it's safe for you to come and hang out with us at the church. But also, I want you to hang out with us online too. So whatever it is that you need to do to be safe, I want you to do that. So go ahead, subscribe to our YouTube channel, tune in to our Facebook page, or watch us online. All those are really good choices. Now, so glad I got to spend time with you today. I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.